Hello everyone, and welcome back to Behind the Bulletin. Today, we're uncovering a story that has shaken the public far more than anyone expected. Mei Mei's father has just dropped a devastating bombshell about Yu Long, a hidden secret no one, not even their closest fans, ever saw coming. What truth has been buried behind their picture-perfect marriage? Why did her father choose to reveal it now? And how will this shocking disclosure change everything? Stay with us. We're diving into every explosive detail right now. The day began like any other, quiet, uneventful, almost unnervingly calm. But by noon, the entire entertainment industry was on fire. The cause? A single, explosive sentence spoken by Mei Mei's father during what was supposed to be a simple post-wedding interview. His voice didn't tremble. His expression didn't waver. Yet the words he delivered detonated like a bomb across social media. There's something about Yu Long the public needs to know. Silence fell over the room. Reporters blinked at him, unsure if they had misheard. But he continued, eyes sharp with a weight he had clearly carried for far too long. A secret he has hidden from everyone, including my daughter. The effect was immediate. Gasps. Frantic typing. Cameras clicking so loudly they sounded like hail against glass. Within minutes, the clip had been posted online. Within 10 minutes more, the internet exploded. Fans were furious. Critics were stunned. Conspiracy theories ignited like wildfire. Why would Mei Mei's father speak out now? What did he mean by hidden? And why did his voice carry that unmistakable mixture of anger, fear, and heartbreak? The story spread uncontrollably, consuming every corner of the digital landscape. Hashtags trended in multiple countries. News outlets rushed to push out articles with barely formed headlines. Even other celebrities were caught off guard, their live streams interrupted by panicked fans demanding answers. Meanwhile, far away from the chaos, Mei Mei sat in her parents' home, staring at the television screen in disbelief. The video of her father replayed over and over, each repetition cutting deeper than the last. Tears collected at the edges of her eyes, not because of the media frenzy, not because of the pressure, but because of the look in her father's eyes. A look she hadn't seen since she was a child. Pain. Her hands trembled as she replayed the clip again. Her father had always been protective, yes, but never reckless, never vindictive. If he had said something this catastrophic, something was very, very wrong. At that exact moment, Yu Long entered the room. He froze at the side of the screen. The moment he saw the interview clip was mid-frame. His entire body went rigid. His jaw tightened. His eyes darkened, swirling with storm clouds concealed behind forced composure. Mei Mei swallowed hard. Why would my father say that? What does he mean, Yu Long? Yu Long didn't answer. His silence was a dagger, and Mei Mei felt it slip between her ribs. Cold and merciless. Yu Long, she whispered, her voice cracking. Look at me. He's lying. He slowly turned toward her. His eyes were filled with something she didn't recognize, regret, fear, maybe even guilt. His hands trembled slightly at his sides, a detail so subtle that only someone who loved him would notice. I never wanted you to hear it like this, he said. Her breath caught. So, it's true. Before he could respond, the door slammed open. Mei Mei's father stood there, his expression carved from stone. The tension in the room snapped like a wire stretched too thin. Dad, Mei Mei began. But her father cut her off. You need to step away from him. Now. Yu Long stepped forward, trying to maintain calm. Father, please. I am not your father. The older man's voice was deep, shaking with fury barely restrained. And you have no right to speak to me after what you've done. Mei Mei felt the room spin. Dad, please. What's going on? Someone tell me. Her father kept his glare locked on Yu Long. If you won't tell her, I will. Yu Long stiffened. Don't. Her father demanded. Afraid she'll learn the truth? Afraid she'll see the kind of man she married? A tear slipped down Mei Mei's cheek. What truth? What kind of man? Her father took a breath, a long, painful breath, before speaking the words that would fracture her world in half. Yu Long was involved in the incident that destroyed your brother's life. The room fell into suffocating silence. Mei Mei couldn't breathe. My brother. Her father nodded, his voice cracking for the first time. Yes. The reason he disappeared. The reason we lost him. Yu Long was there. And he has been hiding it from you, from all of us, ever since. Yu Long closed his eyes, pain slicing through every line of his face. Mei Mei. I can explain. But she stepped back from him, trembling violently. Explain what? That you ruined my brother's life and then married me without telling the truth. It wasn't like that. He insisted desperately. I never meant. Her father's voice cut through him like a blade. You didn't mean it. But you let an innocent boy take the fall for something you did? Yu Long's voice cracked. I was trying to protect him. By destroying him, her father thundered. The walls shook with the force of his rage. Mei Mei pressed her palms to her ears. Overwhelmed. Her husband. Her father. Her brother. Lies. Secrets. Pain. All colliding at once. Suddenly, the house lights flickered. Died. Darkness swallowed them whole. Mei Mei gasped. What's happening? A shadow appeared behind the glass doors leading to the courtyard. Tall. Still. Watching. Her father grabbed her arm, pulling her close. Yu Long stepped in front of them both. His voice barely a whisper. He's here. Mei Mei froze. Who? Yu Long's voice trembled. Your brother. The glass door creaked. Someone, or something, stepped inside. And the nightmare truly began. The sound of footsteps echoed through the pitch-black room, slow, deliberate, unnervingly calm. Yang Mei Mei's breath hitched as the silhouette crossed through the faint moonlight spilling into the house. Her father instinctively pulled her behind him. Her entire body was trembling. Yu Long, standing just a few feet away, kept his eyes fixed on the shadow like he was staring at a ghost. Because that's exactly how it felt. Mei Mei whispered, her voice cracking. Is that really you? The figure paused at the edge of the light, his face still hidden in darkness. A deep, cold voice answered. It's been a long time, Mei Mei. She staggered backward, her hand flying to her mouth. The voice was familiar, changed by time, deeper, hollowed out by pain. But undeniably her brother's. Her father's shoulders sagged with grief. What you were dead. A quiet laugh, bitter, broken. Sometimes I wondered that myself. The figure stepped forward, and the light finally revealed his face. Wow. The brother who had disappeared. The brother the world believed had simply run away. The brother whose fate had been buried in silence. Eyes, once warm and bright, were now shadowed by a darkness that chilled the room. A thin scar traced the left side of his jaw, a silent reminder of violence and years lost. Mei Mei reached out with shaking hands. Ow, what happened to you? But he didn't look at her. He looked at Yu Long. His eyes burned. You know exactly what happened. Yu Long's throat tightened. How, please? Let's talk privately. How scoffed. Privately? After you told the world I disappeared on my own? After you left me to rot while your career soared? Mei Mei turned to Yu Long, horror spreading across her face. Yu Long, what is he talking about? Yu Long stepped forward, desperation twisting his expression. Mei Mei. Please, it's more complicated than that. Is it? How snapped? Tell her how you begged me to take the blame. How you swore you'd fix everything, then abandoned me when the truth came out. Yu Long shook his head violently. I tried to help you. You didn't try hard enough. The room crackled with tension, thick enough to choke on. Mei Mei felt her knees weakening. Were involved in something together. Neither of them answered. His voice hardened. Do you know why I returned, Mei Mei? Her head, tears falling freely. Hao's gaze cut through Yu Long like a blade. Because he married you. Mei Mei stumbled backward, her mind spinning. What does that have to do with anything? Yu Long closed his eyes, bent under the weight of his secret. Mei, your brother wasn't the one who destroyed his own future. Mei Mei stared at him, heart pounding. Then who did? Yu Long looked up, and the guilt in his eyes told her everything. Hao spoke instead. Him. The word echoed like thunder. Mei Mei shook her head violently. No. No. That can't be true. Hao's jaw tensed. I took the fall. He walked free. Yu Long's voice cracked. Hao. Stop, she doesn't understand everything. Because you never let her, Hao roared. Wind rattled the windows. Mei Mei's father grabbed her as she nearly collapsed. Mei Mei turned to her husband. It's breaking. Why didn't you tell me? Long stepped toward her, eyes pleading. Because I was trying to protect you, from this, From him. Laughed, low and cold. Protect her? From me? Or protect yourself? Yulong swallowed hard. Both. Snarled and lunged at him. Yulong blocked the blow. The two men crashing into furniture as years of buried rage erupted in a storm of violence. Mei Mei screamed. Stop. Both of you, stop. But they didn't. Couldn't. Not after everything. How slammed Yulong against the wall. You stole my future. Yulong struck back. I tried to save your life. Roared. By destroying it. The lights flickered violently. The house trembled. Mei Mei sobbed, covering her ears as the men tore at each other with the desperate fury of shattered brothers. Finally, her father shouted, enough. Both men froze. Mei Mei, shaking uncontrollably, whispered. What happened between you two? Hao breathed hard. Tell her. Yulong. Or I will. Yulong looked at his wife, his world, knowing that the truth might break her. But before he could speak, Hao stepped closer and whispered the words that shattered the room. Mei Mei, he was responsible for the accident that almost killed me. Silence collapsed around them. Mei Mei couldn't breathe. Yulong didn't deny it. Her heart cracked open. Hao stepped back into the shadows. And now that he has you, he thinks he's won. Yulong choked out, I love her. And I loved her first. Passion hit like a bullet. Mei Mei staggered, her world spinning out of control. Hao's voice lowered, filled with years of rage. You took my life once, Yulong. You won't take her too. The lights snapped off. Scream sliced the darkness. And everything vanished into chaos. Darkness swallowed the entire house the moment the lights died. A scream tore through the blackness, raw, panicked, echoing off the walls like something wounded. Mei Mei's breath caught in her throat. She couldn't see anything, just shadows moving, bodies clashing. Voices twisting sharply with rage and desperation. Long, she cried out. Her arms reaching blindly. Mei Mei, stay back, his voice snapped somewhere to her left. But another voice, her brother's, cut in from the right. Sharp and venomous. Don't go near him. It exploded through the room. Furniture splintered. Glass shattered. Something heavy slammed into the floor. Mei Mei stumbled backward. Her hands shaking violently. Her father grabbed her arm and pulled her to his chest, shielding her. How? Yulong. Stop this madness, he shouted into the darkness. Didn't stop. They couldn't stop. Not with years of betrayal, guilt, jealousy, and love curdling inside them like poison. Another furious scream ripped through the house. Shoved someone else hard enough to make the floor tremble. Mei Mei could hear fists hitting flesh, teeth grinding. Scorching with hatred. Her heart pounded so loudly it drowned out everything else. A spark. Then another. It flickered back to life. Sputtering weakly, then grew brighter. And the scene that came into view made her entire body go rigid. How had Yulong pinned to the floor? His forearm crushing against his throat. Yulong's face was red. Jaw clenched as he struggled to breathe. Blood dripped from his lip, staining the wooden floor beneath him. Mei Mei screamed. How? Stop. But Hao's eyes were wild, dark with pain, sharp with obsession. You took everything from me. He hissed. My dreams. My future. And then, you took her. Yulong gasped, clawing at Hao's arm. I tried to save you. Hao raised his fist. Mei Mei broke free from her father and ran toward them. Hao. Please, he's my husband. Hao froze. Those 3 words, my husband, hit him like a blow. His eyes trembled, and for a moment, something inside him cracked. His grip loosened just enough for Yulong to shove him off and roll away. Coughing violently, Mei Mei dropped to her knees beside her husband, her hands cupping his face. Yulong. Look at me, are you hurt? Can you breathe? Yulong's eyes flickered open. Mei. Behind them, Hao's breathing turned ragged. Himself up slowly. His face twisted in heartbreak so raw it was almost unbearable to look at. You chose him, Hao whispered. Mei Mei's tears spilled. Hao, it's not about choosing, this isn't a competition. Yes, it is, Hao snapped, his voice breaking. It always was. Just didn't see it. He stepped toward her. Her father lunged forward. Stop right there. Hao didn't listen. His eyes were locked on his sister, one filled with grief, the other with a possessiveness he could no longer hide. You were the only person who ever believed in me, Hao said softly. The only one who cared for me before everything fell apart. And when I disappeared, he let you think I abandoned you. Long tried to speak, but his voice was barely a rasp. Hao, please. Hao rounded on him. Don't you dare say my name. The hatred in his voice was so sharp Mei Mei flinched. She tried again. Hao, what exactly happened? Tell me the truth. I deserve to know. He looked at her, truly looked at her, for the first time since stepping out of the shadows. You want the truth? His voice dropped to a whisper. Trembling. Yu Long wasn't just involved in the accident, he caused it. Long's face drained of color. Mei Mei's breath vanished. Her father froze. Hao continued, jaw clenched so tight it trembled. And do you know why I never told you? Mei shook her head helplessly. Because I knew you were in love with him. Even back then. And despite everything he took from me, I couldn't bear to break your heart. Those words shattered her. Mei Mei covered her mouth, choking on sobs. How? I didn't know. I didn't know any of this. Hao stepped closer, his expression softening for the first time, a deep, painful softness born from years of silent suffering. He reached out his hand gently. Come with me, Mei Mei. Leave him. Start over, the way things were meant to be. Yu Long dragged himself upright. His voice hoarse. Mei Mei. Don't, please, listen to me. Hao's voice deepened, darkened. He doesn't deserve you. He never has. Mei Mei trembled between the two men, one who shattered her life with secrets, and one who returned from the shadows with truths too heavy to carry. My life, she whispered. Tears sliding down her face. Was never meant to turn into this. Hao reached forward. Choose me. Choose the person who never gave up on you. Yu Long staggered forward, blood staining his shirt. Choose love. Mei Mei, not vengeance. Both men extended their hands toward her. Her father whispered desperately. Mei Mei, think carefully. Squeezed her eyes shut. Her breath shattering. Her heart fractured in two directions. Toward the past she lost. And the future she wasn't sure she could trust. Slowly, painfully, she opened her eyes. But before she could speak, before she could choose, or a single word left her lips, a deafening crash erupted behind them. The front door exploded inward, and a swarm of flashing lights filled the house. Police, security, SWAT, a whole tactical unit. They stormed inside, weapons raised. Hands up. Step away from her. Hao's eyes widened. Yu Long staggered back. Mei Mei screamed as officers pulled her away from both men. Commander pointed his weapon straight at Hao. Yang Hao, you're under arrest. The room froze. Mei Mei's sob turned into a strangled whisper. No, please, stop. But it was too late. Hao backed toward the window, his chest rising and falling with wild panic. You betrayed me, he whispered to Yu Long. You took her from me, and now you're taking my freedom too. Yu Long shook his head desperately. I didn't call them. But Hao didn't believe him. Crashed through the window. Shards exploding like rain. Yu Long lunged forward. Hao. Mei Mei screamed. No. Officers rushed outside. Shouts. Chaos. Sirens. A body on the ground. Mei Mei collapsed to her knees, her voice cracking into nothingness. Yu Long stumbled toward her. Mei Mei. She looked at him with hollow eyes filled with betrayal, grief. Pain so deep it tore his heart apart. This, she whispered, voice trembling with devastation. This is all because of you. Long froze. And before he could say a word, backed away from him, shaking violently, falling uncontrollably. Stay away from me. Father held her as she collapsed into sobs. Police lights flashed through the broken window. Yu Long stood frozen in the center of the room, bleeding, trembling, losing everything he ever loved. As the terrible truth settled in, he hadn't just lost her trust. He hadn't just lost her brother. He had lost her. And the worst part? This was only the beginning. The night settled into an unsettling stillness as the sirens faded into the distance. The shattered window allowed the cold wind to sweep through the room, carrying with it the echoes of everything that had happened, screams, broken truths, and the sound of a family tearing apart. Mei Mei stood near the doorway, her body trembling, her hands clasped tightly against her chest as if trying to hold together the pieces of a heart that had been ripped open. Yulong remained frozen in the center of the room, staring at the fragments of glass glimmering on the floor. Like a man standing inside the ruins of his own life, haunted, hollow, and utterly alone. Every breath he took felt heavy, as though guilt itself had wrapped around his lungs. He reached out a hand toward Mei Mei, but she stepped back, tears still streaming down her face. "Don't," she whispered. "Please, don't come closer." Voice was soft, but the distance in her eyes was sharper than any blade. It was then that Yulong finally understood, even if she didn't push him physically. Her heart had already begun drifting out of reach. Mei's father placed a trembling hand on her shoulder. "We're leaving," he said quietly, guiding her toward the door. She didn't resist. She didn't look back. Not once. When the door finally closed, the silence that followed was unbearable. Yulong sank to the floor, hitting the hardwood with a dull thud. His breath came out in ragged gasps as he pressed a shaking hand to his forehead. He wanted to scream. He wanted to undo everything. He wanted to run after Mei Mei and beg her to listen, but he couldn't move. Because deep down, he knew she was right. Everything that had happened, every lie, every scar, every crack in their fragile happiness, all of it traced back to him. The broken window flickered with the last remnants of police lights outside. It painted the room in shades of red and blue, like a warning. Like a final reminder that no matter how desperately he had tried to escape his past, the past had returned, and this time, it had taken everything. As the cold wind whispered through the glass shards, Long whispered into the dark, "I'm sorry, Mei Mei. I'm so sorry." But the night did not answer. And in that silence, he felt the weight of a truth he could no longer deny. Some mistakes don't just haunt you. They destroy you. And this was only the beginning of the price he would have to pay.